You know, ever since that February 2022 Direct revealed the avatars for Nintendo Switch Sports, I've really only ever seen people dunk on them for not being as good as Miis, or people defending them for being good in their own right. I've got a lot to say about them in this video based on the impression I get looking at trailers and such for the game, but the first and most important thing I feel is to say this. They're gross! Ew! Ew! Look at that one! Are they kids? This one's got a beard! Oh, they're like those monkey NFTs. It's the same darn character copy-pasted with haphazardly draped on accessories. Oh, it sucks! Oh, it sucks! Oh, I don't like it! Oh, I don't like it! I don't have to tell you why the Mii characters being sidelined for these new Sportsmates is raising such a hullabaloo, do I? Wii Sports is one of the best-selling games of all time. I'm sure that even if you've never played it, you at least understand the gist of it, yeah? The Wii was novel at the time because it felt like a major evolution in gaming to use one's own motions to control a game. Even those who typically go into anaphylactic shock when their skin makes contact with a game controller were happy and willing to invest in Nintendo's White Waggler. And Wii Sports, being a pack-in title, almost certainly played a major role in enticing all those gamers / soon-to-be gamers / world record for most dust collected on a game console surface contestants. A, because utilizing the Wii Remote for use in performing simple actions that more or less translated to what the characters were doing on screen was so immediately understandable, anyone from a small child to a septuagenarian got the appeal. And B, because the characters in this game weren't pro athletes or Mario characters, they were us, the people. Miis were and are so insanely versatile as custom avatars. Their features are simple yet varied enough that you could ask 5 people each to recreate one person as a Mii, and each one of them would likely do it differently. Yet at the same time, each one of their Miis would likely still be recognizable as the person they were prompted to recreate. Miis were a smash with Nintendo's consumer base. They showed up all over the Wii and were the stars of many games and channels on it. They were the vanguard of Nintendo characters to transition onto PC and smart devices with Miiverse, Miitomo, and Nintendo accounts. They were utilized to a good extent on the 3DS and Wii U, continuing to be central in each console's infrastructure and getting several new games in which they were the stars. But on the Switch, however, they were seemingly sidelined, what with the Mii Maker being hidden away in the settings and the application being mostly stripped of flourishes like music at a plaza. Not to mention little things like the absence of Mii heads being used for save files in the 3D All-Stars port of Mario Galaxy. But last year, 2021, at time of recording this, it seems that Miis were coming back in a big way. Miitopia got a remaster on Switch with a gargantuan expanse of new customization features that's seemingly infinite in its ability to recreate anything on a Mii's face. Plus, the main character in Mario Golf Super Rush's campaign was a Mii. Plus, it just seemed that in 2021, Nintendo had gone completely hog wild with lending Switch players games in which creation through customization was king. When on top of the previously mentioned Mii incorporating games, we got a pretty robust photo editor in new Pokemon Snap, and of course, mother-loving Game Builder Garage. In complete honesty, I wouldn't be surprised if Mii still have a good number of years of use left in them. I could see them getting a sequel to Tomodachi Life on Switch, and maybe more smaller appearances similar to Smash or Mario Kart. Heck, Nintendo Switch Sports is one of those smaller appearances. But in terms of returning for Nintendo's next console, yeah, we'll have to get into that later. Right now, let's circle back to what this video is primarily about. Those. The Sportsmates. Even if you're somebody who insists they're good in their own way, you have to admit that seeing them on the Nintendo Switch Sports title screen in that February Direct was a massive fight-or-flight trigger. But regardless, while I gave them a sound roasting in this video's intro, there is a part of my brain that wants to welcome them to the echelon of Nintendo All-Stars. I can't help it, spending hours of my formative years collecting trophies in Super Smash Bros. Brawl demands I do. But of course, there is another part of my brain that says, holy moly, these desolate icons of mediocrity aren't fit to gaze at the wonder that is the bottom of an Xbox avatar's shoe, let alone overtake the Mii institution. But seriously though, I'm not much of a fan of their design. After playing the online beta, I will grant them that their animations are impressively varied and the range of expression is pretty good, but even still, it seems to me that they're the antithesis of Miis, particularly in the departments of customizability and personalization. Sure, it looks like you can give them all sorts of fun outfits and accessories and even turn them into purple chipmunks, but Miis are a textbook demonstration of less is more. With a set amount of eyes, noses, mouths, etc., Miis can still manage to look like darn near anyone. From what I can glean from all avenues in which Sportsmates are visible, bearing in mind that the game's not officially out yet at time of writing, they all have that same wall-eyed wannabe Animal Crossing face, and none of them vary in height or body type either. Now, while this does make them a poor successor or substitute for Miis, this one-size-fits-all design template isn't unheard of in Nintendo games. Animal Crossing villagers all share the same height and body type. Splatoon's Inklings and Octolings are also only set apart by minute distinguishers like their clothing, hairstyles, eye color, skin color, and gender. But I still feel the Sportsmates design is wanting when compared to villagers and inklings. For instance, villagers, and all Animal Crossing characters for that matter, have a chibi art style that makes everybody cute and innocent looking to the point where age is mostly a non-factor. An Animal Crossing villager can wear a beard and I'd think nothing of it, but this Sportsmate with a beard creeps me out. His proportions and facial features are too childlike. Oh merciful God in heaven who art all just and all merciful, please don't let these things wear bikinis. And to make a comparison to the Splatoon Inklings, Sportsmates are identifiably human, yet their design is a little confused. Thus my discomfort when seeing the one with the beard, for example. Inklings and Octolings, on the other hand, are explicitly not human. They are also explicitly kids now, and squids now. So beards aren't even on the table, except for Cat and Cuttlefish, who deviates from the player character template, so it's a non-issue. I guess what I'm saying here is, while I'm not opposed to Miis being sidelined for a new cast of characters in a Wii Sports sequel, I am opposed to them being sidelined in favor of what looks like the result of Fortnite having a baby with Farmville in the metaverse. But wait, this video isn't just me explaining why I don't like the Sportsmates design. I've got a crackpot theory that will be immediately disproven in a couple months at time of uploading once Switch Sports launches, so I'll try to throw in as many jokes as I can to maintain entertainment value for those of you watching in the future. How's that new F-Zero game in the future, by the way, future viewers? Did World War III delay it? Gosh, I hope not. I'd hate for that to be the reason why I personally start World War IV. So, as I said in the previous segment, Inklings are explicitly not human. They have a deep lore discoverable through collectibles in the game's single-player modes, as well as some cute dialogue here and there from NPCs, that explain that they're actually highly evolved squids living in a world post-humanity. Now, I know this is crazy, but what if the Sportsmates aren't human? Or at the very least have some deep lore that touches on them enough to justify their strange design. Think about it. ARMS was a similar case, wasn't it? Most of the characters in ARMS are indeed human, but deep lore explains, to an extent, why they have recoiling arms. The world they inhabit has well-informed echoes and inspirations from the world we know, but at the same time, theirs is still a fantasy world complete with its own ancient tribes, societies, histories, institutions, social conventions, scientific hypotheses, inventions, discoveries, and much, much more. Gosh, I love ARMS, but anyway. Splatoon and ARMS both are similar in the sense that they're designed as games in such a way that they can be casually enjoyed without much thought from players. All the while, more satisfying story elements are somewhat hidden away, yet still accessible to those who want to know about them. Is it so far-fetched to think Switch Sports may be doing the same thing? It would be a pretty reasonable explanation for why Miis weren't used as the default characters, seeing as how they're meant to be us. And Nintendo doesn't know my deep lore. One of these days, Arlo. Don't call me that. And it's not Halloween. I of course know that this is a pretty far-out theory. And in all likelihood, the Sportsmates were probably made specifically to try and appeal to the Splatoon/Animal Crossing crowd, while the Miis were sidelined for fear of casual Switch players not knowing where in the Switch's menus to find the Mii Maker. You know, I can't help but feel that putting a Mii Maker shortcut on the home page and revamping the application itself a little would have made Switch players really happy, and even might have enticed them to pick up Nintendo Switch Sports. But what do I know? More than you let on! Get out of your head, man! It's also possible that Nintendo decided to sideline the Miis and create the Sportsmates for Switch Sports specifically to impress the non-initiated who haven't touched a game console since they put down Wii Sports all those years ago. I can imagine somebody's middle-aged aunt who bought into the Wii craze back in the day seeing a Switch Sports ad display in the electronics section of Target and thinking to herself, "Ow, I bought the original for my darling nieces and nephews many moons ago. Mayhaps I shall rekindle our familial affection by gifting unto them this visually striking new iteration." Yeah. In fact, I'll purchase one of these gizmos that plays it too, so they might feel compelled to visit their sweet auntie in a lonely gated one-bedroom condominium. Garçon, garçon, one Switch with a sports to go, please. I don't work here. Okay, so what have we learned so far? I covered why Miis are so beloved, why there may be a reason to believe they'd stick around for a little longer, why I don't like the Sportsmates or their repulsive faces, theories trying to justify the Sportsmates' sorry existence, and I'm pretty sure I also got hit by a bus. You didn't get hit by a bus. Really? Oh yeah, no, that's right, I was thinking of you. What? No, I didn't get hit by a bus. Oh, I guess I was early. Anyway. There's one more thing I'd like to circle back to that I mentioned earlier in the video. That being, whether or not Miis will return for Nintendo's next console. Now I've got so many video ideas related to speculating Nintendo's next console, and I've released so few because I keep going back and forth on certain things that keep my scripts in limbo. But when it comes to Miis, I've got a couple notions concerning their appearances / potential lack of appearances in the future. For one thing, I don't think they'll just up and disappear, but I do think their appearances will grow even scarcer than they currently are on Switch. While Nintendo is just awful, the absolute worst at keeping their legacy titles accessible to the public, I can still imagine that with so many beloved games of theirs including Mii support, the Mii Maker will likely continue to be available on future consoles. But I don't think it'll be on the homepage or even in the settings menu. No, I think it'll be an external application available on the eShop, probably for free. Hopefully for free. Because while the 3D All-Stars release of Mario Galaxy shows that Nintendo can go in and completely expunge Miis from certain past titles, games like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate would just be plainly inferior were they to return without unrestricted access to Miis. Sure, they could make it so the Mii fighters all have the default faces plus maybe a couple extra presets were it to be ported to a system without a Mii Maker. Or worse still, Smash Mates. But that would sully the appeal of the Mii Fighter costumes, so yeah, that probably won't happen. It seems to me that Nintendo has got to keep making Miis available on their future systems, even if they're no longer incorporated within future systems infrastructure, if not purely for preserving the integrity of particular titles. Now, as for new games that star the Miis, that's not as cut and dry. Nintendo Switch Sports shows us that Miis are replaceable even within the series that previously belonged to them. If ever we see the return of Wii Play, Nintendo Land, or Street Pass, the possibility exists that Miis will be sidelined in favor of Playmates, Parkmates, or Passmates. And you know what? If Nintendo can work a little bit on these mates designs, or, come up with other original characters and settings for these series, that might not even be so bad. But then again, what about series like Miitopia and Tomodachi Life that are all about those faces and the customization? Well, they'll likely be put on ice for a while. Probably not too long of a while, but a while. If anything, it suggests to me that Nintendo are almost certainly working on a new or enhanced version of Tomodachi Life for the Switch before that happens. The Tomodachi Life series is a surprisingly big seller, definitely bigger than Miitopia. So why go to the bother of implementing such a stellar new line of customization features for Miitopia if the more popular sister series isn't following it? Gosh, there is so much fun to be found in doing the most innocuous things with Miis. Tell me, are people digging the Switch version of Miitopia for the wacky circumstances the characters find themselves in? Or does it have more to do with how robust the new makeup system is? Tell me, both of you who also played Miitomo, was answering the personal questions and playing the minigames the most memorable parts of that experience? Or was it superimposing Miis on top of your gallery photos and making them say naughty things with their oddly endearing synth voices? Tell me, would you pay $5 to $10 or so for an eShop title that included the Mii Maker, along with all the customization features that allowed you to do those innocuous things, like pose them in photos, dress them up, and have them say or sing things with their synth voices and such? I probably would. Heck, that'd be a nifty thing to include in an online expansion pass or as a reward for my Nintendo users. I don't know, just saying. But of course, that's all conjecture and speculation. Nobody truly knows what the future holds, and Nintendo is infamously tough to predict, so there's no need to take this stuff to heart. The fact of the matter is, Miis are a largely optional feature built into the Switch that isn't taken advantage of too often. And Nintendo Switch Sports, a sequel to the Wii's defining title, has ordained that Miis are no longer the faces of the Wii Sports franchise. And while these facts are disheartening to the many Mii fans out there, it wouldn't have been so devastating to me personally if their replacements weren't so shockingly vapid and uninspired for a first-party Nintendo title. And while this does raise concern that Miis may be phased out of future Nintendo titles and console infrastructures, I don't think it outright signals the death of Miis as we know them. And even in the unlikely event that it does, well, they'll always live on in our hearts. Well, that's all I've got to say on the matter. Now it's your turn to talk. What are your thoughts and impressions on Nintendo Switch Sports, and the diminishing presence of Miis on Switch, and the new Sportsmates? Hey, if you like the new Sportsmates, that's alright by me. In a way, I feel like they'll grow on me in time. Because they remind me of unwanted warts growing on a human ass! Nah, but seriously, they seem to suit this new game just fine. Because it's a vapid and soulless cash grab rushed out to market before it's even ready to make use of an accessory it comes bundled with. What were they thinking? I'm only joking. Joking back my tears and puke. Just the sight of their coffee-guzzling hipster bait mugs conjure within me the smell of a human ass. And the sound of a human ass. I only wish the sight of them alone looked more like human ass. That way I'd see less crap coming out of them. Hey-oh! Thank you, folks. You've been a wonderful audience. Be sure to like the video, huh? Subscribe if you aren't already. Helps me out. You know I need all the help I can get, huh? Don't forget to tip your waitresses. All you have to do is go to patreon.com/atalkingsock and pledge at least $1 a month, and I'll get you some behind-the-scenes updates and a credit in my end slates. I will see you the next time I see you. Good night!
Da 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 da.